What up? It's your boy T-Bone Reaction. Today is Wrestling Wednesday. And I'm about to check this video from What Culture Wrestling. 10 wrestlers who are huge marks for themselves. Now, I mean, if you don't have anybody to be a mark for you, then be a mark for yourself, man. That's all I'm gonna say. You know what I mean? It's always to push yourself in the line as well too. Oh, great! I gotta look at what one of my tracks from track live that's gonna get removed. Anyway, if you want to be a mark for yourself, mark for yourself, then do it. Know what I'm saying? No. If you can't get yourself over, do it yourself. Know what I mean, if you can't be a mark, if you have fans to be a mark for you, do it yourself. So here's 10 wrestlers who are huge marks for themselves. Let's get it from What Culture. Let's get it.
You definitely need a lot of confidence to bump around in tights for a living. But there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. And an even finer one between believing in yourself and just being a gigantic mark for yourself. So I'm Gareth, this is What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 wrestlers who were huge marks for themselves. Number 10, Bret Hart. Some wrestlers on this list can't exactly justify their high opinions of themselves. Some can though. Bret Hart falls squarely in the latter category, my friend. Bret was an artist, a technician so sublime that virtually every other wrestler seemed janky in their movement in contrast. As an example, if you grew up on Bret and learned that Ric Flair was considered the greatest ever, it would take a while for you to get it. Bret also knew it. He believes he approached pro wrestling matches and action set.
I'm the best there is, and best of all, and best of will be. If you don't like it, talk shit. Stop. I'm sorry, I was laughing at one. But yeah, called him the excellent executioner, and the best there is, the best there was, the best there will be.
Pieces with the eye of a film director. He also believed and was proud of professing that he never hurt anybody in the ring. You know, to the fans, my stuff always looked legit. But to the boys, they thought they were in there with Florence Nightingale, you know. Apologies for that impression, Bret, I still love you. Bret's in-ring artistry was so powerful that it reduced his peers to tears. Yeah, and that's not even a bit, he wrote that in his books several times. Bret wasn't content with being great either. He didn't like losing too much because as a hero, he felt he'd be letting his fans down.
Right.
Mark for himself or a real-life saint? I'll let you decide. I want to be a mark for Bret for a minute here, so what do you reckon is the greatest Bret Hart moment of all time? Let me know in the comments. Number 9, Hulk Hogan. If you wanted to distill the essence of Hulk Hogan, you need only watch the Doomsday Cage match at WCW Uncensored 1996. In it, he teams with Randy Savage to take on no less than 8 heels, the alliance to end Hulkamania. Much of the match played out like a side-scrolling beat-em-up video game, only because Hulk Hogan was such a mark for himself, he handily defeated the wrestler who should have been the final boss in the first level, that wrestler being Ric Flair. The parallels to Shinobi were made literal when Arn Anderson, who was also a legend, treated like a one-hit kill 8-bit sprite, was dressed inexplicably like a ninja. But it was the most ridiculous masturbatory match in the entire history of the pro wrestling medium, and it was almost even more ridiculous, somehow, since Brian Pillman was nearly the 9th man. He was cleverer than that though, and got out of it by scheduling non-emergency throat surgery for the day of the pay-per-view. Smart guy. Hogan was appalled at the prospect of losing, to such an extent that he treated WCW as a vanity project and defeated every signature star just so that he could be Hulk Hogan, brother. Number 8, Buff Bagwell.
Right.
Now, Buff Bagwell definitely had something in the 1990s. Never a great worker, his personality was so phenomenally cocky and abrasive that he was very effective at riling up the audience. He was gifted a punchable face and worked on the ability to wear punchable expressions. He were never promised a memorable match, but watching that face get punched was cathartic, if not electrifying. He was
I'm saying that match with him and Booker T, man. You see why he didn't have much pull in the Alliance storyline. I ain't crazy. Right, you think about it. He's part of the reason why they ended up making WCW the heels of the Invasion storyline, because it was booed the fuck out of that match. And while Booker T, unfortunately, had to turn heel.
strong, clean heel. The problem with Buff is that he thought he was The Rock. Bagwell was such a huge mark for himself that he thought he knew better than Pat Patterson, the inventor of the Royal Rumble and the best finish guy of all time. Imagine declaring you know better than the man who mapped out those 1997 WWF finishes. Well, that's what Bagwell did, according to Booker T. Ahead of their infamous 2001 dud on Raw, but claimed on the Not Sam podcast in 2019, Pat tried to give Buff some advice. Ready to go in front of a crowd, Buff, a narcissist, had no idea would be so hostile.
Right.
Bagwell told Pat not to worry. He was already over. He was not over, viewer. Other than in his own Jupiter-sized head, of course. Number 7, Low-Ki. Low-Ki once recoiled at the idea of doing a job for Claudio Castagnoli, who's about 8 times his size and, you could argue, a superior pro wrestler. To use the wording of Kevin Owens, who once recounted that tale, Claudio is a human horse. Low-Ki is not a human horse, but he'll kick you full force in the head if he feels threatened, if that counts. He is in fact a warrior born and bred for combat. That's his gimmick. But he very much lives it. He thinks he's a legit tough guy and was notorious for throwing tantrums if a promoter failed to agree with that perception.
Wow. Man, explain why he's like, though somewhat of a legend, he's stifled for where he is with the wrestling legacy as well too.
And not book him like 1998 Goldberg. All of the time. He was stiff, reckless, and so high on himself, generally, that he never lasted too long in any promotion. Remember those old Chuck Norris jokes? Chuck Norris can strangle you with a cordless phone. Freddy Krueger has nightmares about Chuck Norris, that sort of thing. Well, that's how Low-Ki sees himself. And you know what's strange? If he was that tough and prideful, why didn't he enter the world of mixed martial arts instead? It couldn't be that he was just a fantasist trying to make himself feel good all along, could it? Number 6, TJP. TJP, who you might...
I heard some things about TJP. I haven't seen Love WWE, man. Yeah, he's a a-hole. He's a cocky asshole.
I remember as TJ Perkins in the rebooted WWE Cruiserweight division a few years back. He's a very good pro wrestler. His technique is good. He can work exciting matches, and he has a grasp of the storytelling craft. It rarely feels like he's just doing stuff. He isn't outstanding, and there are more than a couple of wrestlers who can do what he does, but he is probably underrated if anything. He's certainly good enough to appear on a bigger platform. So why does he? Well, it might have something to do with his attitude. In 2020, ROH cult favorite Cheeseburger asked his wrestler friends on Twitter a question. He wanted to know which other wrestler was so good that they realized they had to step up their game. Perkins responded, "Sadly, no one for me. And I'll be honest, I've spent 22 years waiting / wanting for that not to be the case." I mean, Jesus. Perkins also stated in the same thread that he gets sick of answering his own questions. TJP is so good, you see, that it's upsetting to him. He has no challenges left, except wrestling at the very top for a decent chunk of time. And if you don't count that trivial detail, well, he's an in-ring demigod. If you're having fun looking at these wrestlers who are massive marks for themselves, well then hit that subscribe button and you'll get even more What Culture videos each and every day. Time well spent. Number 5, Shane McMahon.
Of course,
Shane McMahon was good once. No, seriously. Shane McMahon was good when he played an
I mean, you think about it, he still think he got what we had during his early days where dude, for somebody who barely was a wrestler at the moment, he was pretty good and surprisingly athletic in a way, but nowadays he just need to give it up. Like, he ain't got what he used to have it before. Just give it up, dude.
whole stooge heel who only won matches with the help of the Mean Street Posse. The delusion that he was a tough guy was crucial to his act, and he was detestable in the role. His match against Kurt Angle at King of the Ring 2001 was too good for its own good. Shane took such a gutsy and impressive ass-kicking that forever after he deemed himself a badass. When he abandoned the all-important delusion, he became the least credible wrestler of all time. Babyface hardman Shane McMahon, a sweat-soaked disgrace with the cardiovascular conditioning of a flatworm, thought he was Haku or something. The hubris was absolutely outrageous. He didn't just think he was a great, tough wrestler. With his pathetic punches, he thought he was a combat athlete in the wrong job. So convinced of his credentials.
Like, his punches before wasn't as, ridiculous, know what I mean? Like, he was he was a brawler, but now he just, them baby punches ain't shit, yo.
He once squared up to Brock Lesnar backstage, and he was lucky that Lesnar laughed in his face. Worse still, at the 2022 Royal Rumble, he out-Hoganed Hulk Hogan by booking himself to look harder than 29 other men. Terry thought he could only take 8, don't forget. Number 4, Bruce Hart. The infinite monkey theorem posits that, given an infinite amount of time, a monkey smashing random keys on a typewriter would reproduce the full works of William Shakespeare. The theory is not merely accurate, but inevitable. But it can't be correct, because Bruce Hart could live forever and never get over in pro wrestling. And yet he thought he was Antonio Inoki. A parody of a megalomaniac, Bruce booked his father Stu's Stampede into ruin in the mid-1980s, a lunatic who once promoted a space-hopping character named Zodiac. His creative style was a spectacularly poor fit for Stampede's base of grizzled drinkers and their desired legitimacy, violence, and technique. A literal intergalactic disaster. Bruce booked himself so strongly on top that the heels could only get near him if they wielded weapons capable of...
Oh, so Pillman collabed with him before. Okay, that explains why he came back to be part of the Heart Foundation later on before his passing. I didn't know that. Wow.
Murdering lesser men. Bruce was such a fame-hungry mega...
Look that up real quick. Bruce Hart and Owen and Brian Pillman. Let me look that up. See where that was and what. Yeah, what the hell was that? Yup. Wow. The blue-eyed chap. Wow. That's what they call. That's crazy. That's what they call. No, superstar trio. That's what they call. Wow. That's interesting right there. I ain't buzzed it. Didn't know that he knew so beforehand as well too. That's pretty awesome. All-star trio. Either way, wow.
Mark, that he, unable to sanction the idea that the WWF didn't care to use him after buying Stampede out, promoted shows under the Stampede banner himself, reneging on the deal and screwing his own father out of the payday. What a guy. Number 3, Ric Flair. Ric Flair was a mark for himself, of course he was. But that very quality made his act. Ric Flair, by his own admission, has drank more alcohol than most rock stars. But he's never been as drunk as he was on the idea of being Ric Flair in the 1980s. He was so in love with himself that every brag was like a shot in that World Championship Wrestling studio. With the mention of every luxury item and his own accomplishments, Flair would send himself into a more intense state of ranting ecstasy. Flair was the biggest fan of Ric Flair, always, but he's grown more spiteful with it in recent years. Nobody can be great, only Flair. Or when he wants a job, Triple H too. I mean, he could only bring himself to say that Bryan Danielson's work was okay on his podcast a few years ago. Bryan Danielson, what are we even doing here? Flair was such a fan of Ric Flair that he risked death in 2022 just to be Ric Flair one more time. We will never forget that. Number 2, Dax Harwood. You know, this is probably a good thing actually, but Dax Harwood has booked a long-standing trend. A lot of superb wrestlers, Eddie Guerrero most famously, were massively self-critical and agonized over mistakes that the fans barely registered. It is the curse of the perfectionist. Near perfect is still not good enough. Dax comfortably ranks as a superb wrestler, and good on him for knowing his own worth. But god dang does he enjoy his own work. He loves his own work about as much as he loves his family, a bottle of tequila, and a little thing called the business. And so he should, to be honest. Dax is a phenomenal pro wrestler who has compiled an exceptional, at this point, possibly even legendary library of matches. Some of those matches are a bit tainted by the desperation Dax has for you to think they are exceptional, but they're still exceptional. Dax often goes on Twitter and puts these matches over whenever an engagement bait account reminds people of it. But again, social media is a marketing tool, so he's right to do it. He also also often debates how high up the match is in his personal rankings. Thing is though, he seems to do this constantly. Dax has written more lists than What Culture at this point. He just loves this business and his work in it so damn much. Number 1, Triple H. If you're being ultra simple, you could state that the only difference between Triple H and Bruce Hart is that Bruce Hart's creative was adventurous at least. That's a parallel drawn for comic effect, but parallels between the two men do exist. Both book themselves as ultra-dominant top stars amid dire business. Both Triple H and Bruce Hart lived in the shadow of more talented peers, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart respectively, and both were unconscionably ruthless businessmen. Unlike Bruce Hart, at least Triple H didn't make heels hit him with the sledgehammer only to no-sell it, so at least he's not the biggest loser of all time. He's the second biggest loser, yay! Triple H thought Triple H was so big and tough that he used to beat up tag teams all by himself. Using his vast political sway, he almost invariably worked the longest matches at WrestleMania, and at the show of shows, he'd enter the ring with the most laughably expensive and lavish productions, purely because he fancied himself the biggest star. Would any of this have happened on merit had he not married into the McMahon family? Who truly asked for this? Paul L., that too. No wait, that's too obvious. For privacy's sake, let's call him Plevek. Now continue your YouTube journey with What Culture Wrestling by tapping on another video.
Yeah, so yeah, the people he picked are definitely true about them being marks for themselves as well too, especially Triple H. You think about it. Dax I know is like that. Ric Flair, of course, I mean, whatnot. Bruce Prichard I ain't know too much about him, but it sounds about right. Shane, of course. TGP, like I said, from what I heard, yes. Low key, I mean, that explains why where he is. I mean, he's a talented wrestler, but like I say, he's too stiff and everything. That's probably where he is. Buff Wild Wild, of course. Hulk Hogan, yeah, we already know about that. I'm surprised he's that low in the list, but still. But yeah, other than that though, good video from What Culture. Do y'all agree with these? If it is all of us who think there are marks from stuff that should be added, comment down below. But anyway, if you like my reaction, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's your boy T-Bird signing off. One love.